play
Salton Sea.
So this game is an economic-based game, but before we get into it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, because board games are amazing, and that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, Randy, can you tell us a little bit more about this game?
I can. So Salton Sea is a 2024 release. It has a Board Game Geek rating currently of 7.7 and a Board Game Geek rank of 79.56. It's a 1 to 4 player game, average length of 120 minutes, which, depending on player count, that can be about right. Age 14 and up, designed by David Bernal. Art is by Amelia Sales, and it's published by Devir. It's a worker placement industry manufacturing game, according to Board Game Geek, but there's definitely some financial aspects. This definitely has some feel of Pipeline or any of those kind of tight choice.
No, this is tighter than Pipeline.
MSRP on this is $39.99. The cheapest place to pick this up right now, or cheapest places I should say, Card House has it and Tabletop Merchant has it for $27.99. Now Card House is currently out of stock, so Tabletop Merchant does have it in stock, so if you're familiar with them, that might be a good choice. Boardlandia and Miniature Market both have it listed for $31.99 as the second cheapest.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about quality of components. The cards do have a nice linen finish. The player board is definitely a little bit module, but I think they did that to make it to be able to fit in this size of a box. So this is really, it's a very travel-worthy game, I guess. And the fact that it's pretty compact.
Well, Devir seems to have knocked it out of the park with, because my complaint has always been I don't like small box games, and I think Devir must have heard me complain about that. I'm going to take credit for this because I've complained about small box games forever, but they've released a ton of small box games that are meaty games. They don't feel like small box games.
Yeah. You do also get a lot of interesting wooden bits that are very, they're
custom.
They're very custom, yeah. So you got a lot going on. There's a few cardboard pieces, but not a lot. I'm probably going to give this a 7 on the quality scale. I think they got some nice little stuff.
I don't understand what it is about financial games that they have to make them look pristine and white. Everything is like basic and white on the player boards.
They're trying to make it as boring as possible.
I know. The gameplay is fine, but the motif of these type of games, Pipeline's the same way. There's pretty much all of the ones from the Eagle Griffin series kind of look that same way.
Well, that kind of goes more into theme, but
yeah, no, I'm just saying, that. But yeah, I mean, as far as the components, I think the custom wood, the fact that the cards are all linen finished, including the oversized cheat sheet. It's also got a linen finish.
Super helpful.
Yeah. The only problem I had with it was the board, because of folding it up to get it into this box, it every time you get it out, it tends to bow, and you have to kind of push and pull backward on the board to get it to flatten. I'm always afraid I'm going to tear the board if I do that, but it's the only way to get it to stay flat once you get it out, and even then it's still a little curly. With all that, I'll probably give it a 7.5, I think, as far as the components and everything for what you get in the box.
All right, so moving on to theme. So the theme, the artwork, it's very light. It's very clean and crisp.
For a mining company, no less.
For a mining company, yeah. It's just funny because the symbols for the different contracts are so bold, but then everything else is so pastel.
But it does make all the iconography stand out. So, I mean, it's good. That's good.
Okay, fair. And then the pictures are okay. I mean, they're fine. For me, on the theme, 7. I guess.
Well, I think the gameplay does integrate with what the theme is overall.
It does.
I still question the viability of clean energy in this sense that you're mining to get resources that are scarce. That seems to be about the same kind of thing that you're doing to the environment that you would any other kind of mining, but the end product is cleaner, I guess, with lithium, the ion batteries, and geothermal energy, obviously. So, but, the board is very subdued. I mean, it's got neat artwork, but it's, like, in the background. It really reminds me of Pipeline, the picture of the board. I'll probably go
It
ahead.
is a really pretty scene. You just can't really see it
Yeah, I
unless
know
you're
it's just
looking
not
at it.
vibrant. It's but it does make the iconography stand out, which I think is probably
Well, and it
more
makes it more
important.
functional. So
Yeah, functionality should take precedence over, the art. So I probably, because the iconography is very simple. Once you learn, and the cheat sheet makes it even more simple, I will probably go ahead and give it a 7.
okay, great. All right, so moving on to the rule book. How was it?
Boring. I have to say that this was a hard read. The book is.
You like tried to read it like 3 or 4 different times.
I fell asleep 3 times reading this book. If you do need a nap, this is a book for you. It's a 44-page rule book. Now, the good news is not all that has to be read up front. There's a lot of stuff that is just look up for the action cards. They did put all the cards broken out in here. There's a 2-page background on the Salton Sea that explains the history of that area. The components are nicely pictured so you can find them easily and how many there are. I like that. The setup, they've got the player board set up, then they got the board set up. Then they've got the actual gameplay, the different actions you can take, and everything's page numbered, which is good. I mean, it's like if you need to look something up, you will find it. Matter of fact, the cheat sheet has the page numbers. If you have a question about any of the icons, you can go and it tells you exactly where to look it up in the book. That is well done. And to get all the all the icons that are critical to the game on a 2-sided card like this, for a heavy-ish game like this one. This is
I love
a
the fact that the
game.
page numbers are on there. That's hallelujah.
This was a well thought out design.
People should do that more.
Yeah, but the actual read through of this, if you're like me anyway, you're going to need to read this and you're going to need to set up the board and kind of play through it just to get a feel for how it works, because there's a lot of nuanced rules in here. And it's a dry read. It's very dry. And all the print is as faded as the board. So when you're looking at this, it all kind of blends together. Nothing pops, nothing stands out. Well, I should say the negative cost stuff pops, because we all brought that up. The red, if you want to know how much something costs, it shines because it's vibrant red, but everything else is very subdued.
Yeah, because everything else is great. All right, so give it a score.
It does do its job. I'll give it a 7.5. I probably would have given it higher if it just was more interesting and it didn't take me that long to read through the book.
Or that many times.
I know. I made several attempts at this. And it was like, okay, I need to have the board set up. I need to get everything out so I can start to make some sense of this. And because just reading it was not doing it.
So this is a very much a worker placement game. So there's a couple of options that you've got going on here. You have a bunch of different options on your board. So if you go to that location, you take the action, and all of that is on your cheat sheet defining what that action is.
The actions are very clear because they're all like shadowed. They have slash marks through, so you can tell exactly where you can place your workers.
So, and some of these actions are like, for example, acquiring a drilling license, which is getting the card, but then actually drilling to get down to that level, and then actually pulling out the goods. And then you can also get contracts. You can also do your research to gain special abilities, one-time abilities, or continuous abilities, or things like that. And then you can also sell your goods to the market or actually complete the contract that you maybe picked up. One of the interesting components, though, is yes, you have your actions on the board, but you actually have actions on the money that you end up receiving. And when you use the money, you get a special ability. For example, so if I do a repair, it costs 1 less to do a repair if I use the card ability versus the board ability. So,
and those abilities get better based on the denomination you take, but the key is you can't make change. If you spend a card, you don't get ones back if you pay 5 and you only needed to spend 4, for example.
Right. So, for example, this gives me a 1 off a repair, but the 3 level gets 2 off a repair, so that's kind of nice. And then the 3 gives you 3 off. But if I place a worker there, I'm going to get this back at the end of the round, so I will have that card later on to be able to use again. So that's actually very beneficial. So you're using it as a worker space, not necessarily money. Now,
I think that's the first game I've seen that in, where the money has a second purpose. Well, sometimes the card will have a purpose where you can use it as a money or an action, but usually you're spending it either way.
yeah, I think that this felt very unique. Whether I've seen it before or not, I don't think I have, but if I have, it's been very few and far between. And the way they did it, the fact is that you do get it back at the end of the round if you used it for the action. Money is super tight in this game. There's never enough.
Nope.
And because you hated spinning the cards because you're getting rid of possibly good actions, but at the same time, you have to spend money to do things. So that was a constant battle of like, which cards do I get rid of? I need all of them.
And also, in addition to money being a scarce resource, your storage is a scarce resource in this. You start the game with, you can only store one of each resource, and you have to process all the resources.
And it's not easy to process these.
No, it's expensive.
It's not. Well, and so here's the thing. When I honestly started, when we started talking about this game, we started playing it, I was trying to do math on my head as like, okay, where do you actually gain money? Because there were a lot of actions that, for example, I have a $3 resource, right, that I could spend $6, but then that resource is worth $9. So it netted me nothing to actually make the resource. Caveat, sometimes you'd actually lose money because sometimes they were only worth $8 when you got that. So you're like, okay, where's the add value? Yeah. Because this is an economic game, right? Now, the thing is a lot of times you were then end up getting victory points and making significantly less money. But again, it's like, okay, how do you gain money? And I realized that the cards were super important to get those reductions. Yeah. Otherwise, you couldn't make money. You have to have those cards.
But the cards being money, it's like, well, if I get them and I want to use that action, now I can't spend that money. So, the better actions are on the more expensive money, but it ties up more of your money. So it's like, there's a catch-22 to everything in this game.
Right, but you kind of, otherwise though, but there's no way to actually make money if you don't use those bigger actions. So, now obviously drilling was the best thing to get money, right? So that really, but then that makes sense of what the theme is, right?
Because you're a drilling company.
Right.
So
I just wish I would have seen a little bit more margin on actually processing the goods. That I felt was a little disingenuous.
I don't think so. I think it's well designed. I think it's designed because your goal is to get victory points, not money. So
I beg to differ. This is an economic game.
Well, one of the things I like about this game is generally when you're playing a game like this, you can either sell a resource or fill a contract, but usually the goal is to fill the contracts, right?
Oh, not
in this one, it's kind of flipped on its head because usually you get lesser benefit from selling it to the business, just selling a resource versus combining a bunch of resources and fulfilling a contract. In this game, you get a lot of victory points for filling the contract, but you get very little money back for the contract.
Yeah, but you also typically get something that is worth quite a bit of money. For example, upgrades on this or upgrades on this. And
but it's not worth money, it's worth victory points at the end.
Well, like the moving up thing, right? Yeah. It would cost you 3 to do that without getting on a card. So you free up an action and you save 3 money. So if you add that 3 money to that stuff, you're still losing money in the process, even though you're gaining victory, which I thought was fine because, okay, contracts, you're getting victory points, you're not focused on money. But the market was so bad, but you had to go to the market, otherwise you couldn't.
That's the only way to get money.
But you were, there were a couple of times where I was like, I'm not netting anything off of this, but I need money, so I have to do it somehow.
So one of the things we should talk about is the star chart. So the star chart unlocks your warehouse, so that gives you more storage capacity, but the other thing it does is it lets you play more research cards because you're limited to the number of research cards you can play based on how much warehouse you've got access to. So you can only play 1 card from the get-go, and you have ongoing cards and you have one-time cards. The ongoing cards give you a nice perk that's like, I got 2 additional victory points every time I completed a contract. Or you could
But you only finished 2 contracts.
I know, but I only finished 2 contracts. But you can combo, because there's some that give you more money when you got contracts done. So you can combo things too. But the thing is, you got to have space to combo them. And you're only going to unlock 3 more warehouse areas throughout the game. So you're only going to get to play 4 of those cards. But they also have multipliers for the number of victory points that those research cards provide. But you also have one-time benefit ones.
They go around it, that go away.
They go away, but you still have to have space for them to play them. So if you've put in a ongoing benefit one in that initial spot, you can't play any more research cards. So you're limited on that. So everything is balanced and limited so well. The other thing it unlocks is additional workers. So you start the game with 4 workers, but if you want to get additional ones, there's 3 or 4 more still on that board that you can unlock as you go down.
And you need every single one of them.
Yeah, the more workers you get, the more actions you're going to get compared to your opponent. So, and the game goes by faster than you want it to, because you've got 2 ways the game ends, which is these mining basically contracts that are going each round. One of them is going to roll off by just default, but if anybody claims them, they're going to go faster. Or if 2 of the markets close, where people have kept selling to the same markets, it eventually reaches the top and you can't sell there anymore. So those 2 conditions are going to cause the game to end. So so far we've only ended based on the cards. That we've never got the markets to cap out. We got one to cap out.
I will say 2-player versus 4-player.
Yeah.
2-player you can actually build a little bit longer. 4-player I think was over.
It was over way too fast with the 4-player, because you only add 2 more cards to this deck for each player.
Yeah.
So 4 more cards for a 4-player game is not extending the game very often, because you have to get those mining cards in order to get more resources. It's the only way to make money.
Yeah. So with that in mind, I think. So the one thing that a couple people mentioned that played this, because we played it 2 different times, is that it is really tight.
Yeah.
If you don't like a game that is super tight, then this may not be for you. But I think it's got a lot of beauty in that tightness.
Right.
So I actually enjoyed it, although it was on the verge of being too tight for me. But I still liked it a lot, so I'm okay with it. Like, I'll play it again. I enjoyed it. But I could see where other people, if they can't handle the squeakiness factor, they're not going to enjoy this game. I did. I liked it. I thought it was very tight. I won both times, even though I only played half the first time. We let someone step in because they got here. But I set them up well, I think. I'm just teasing. So, for me, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I'm probably going to give this 7.5, 8. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think 8 is where I'm at as well. What I like the most about this is it's the first economic game that is portable that I've seen.
This is true.
This
is very true.
You get a lot of meat out of this game.
This is true.
I mean, when you look at their other ones, you got the White Castle, you've got the Red Cathedral.
No, I would really like me some Red Cathedral.
I like all of those, but this one.
I don't remember White Castle very much.
This one, White Castle, is the one everybody complained was over too fast, and I said I think it's exactly right. I think this one's exactly right as far as the tightness. This one, I think it's perfect for 2 people to take on a trip.
See, I liked it better at 2 than 4.
I think so too. I think it's great at 2.
I would almost say this is a better 2-player.
It is absolutely a better 2-player.
Like, I would be way more willing to play just with you than I would, we're having 4 more people? Oh, well, okay, I'll play.
Well, I think it's intentionally better at 2 in the sense that you travel as 2s usually. You're not going to, I mean, you could travel as 4, I guess, but it still meets the need. You can still play it. I just don't think it's nearly as rewarding.
I think it's better at 2. You said not as rewarding at 2.
I think it's not as rewarding at 4 as it is at 2. And so it's perfect to throw in your suitcase and take somewhere. And that's what Devir, I think they got this niche down. I think there's nobody competes with them in portability. Quality portable games. I don't think there's just nothing. I mean, most of them I don't like to play. I don't like to play like little 15-minute games if I'm going on.
This ain't no 15-minute game.
No, this is definitely not. This is something I can put, we could go to a hotel, we could get it on a table, and we could sit down and enjoy it for an hour or 2 and be perfectly happy.
Yeah, but it will still fit in a suitcase.
Exactly.
I absolutely agree with you on that one. They did get that spot on.
Not to say that Devir's big box games are any less slouch either. They are great too. I mean, Devir is... Capstone and Devir are both right there at the top of my list, but Devir has been consistently knocking it out of the park with each release. And I'm going to I think I'm starting to lean towards Devir being my faves. You know, so I'm gonna, yeah, definitely go with 8 on this one. I think I like this one better than White Castle. I liked White Castle a lot. I like Red Cathedral a lot. So, you know, you can't go wrong with Devir.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast, and hopefully you'll come hang out with us again. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.